All right. Good evening, everyone. It is right at 8:02. We know our group kind of filters in, so we know that it's all right. Y'all, this is going to be such a big week. It's super exciting. This is um, my favorite topic, and it's just very, very exciting. So we always start with why not you? Because all of y'all, this is why not us? Why not every single one of you? I was praying today over all of you guys. I was praying for everybody inside the manager making machine. And it's like, why not us? God created us for this, and this is the time for all of us. He's put this in our hands, and it's just very, very exciting. So, within the next 2 weeks, we just have 2 more weeks left, and then we are going to have a bonus session that we will talk about that is stupid exciting. But just that we are together, not muting the WhatsApp group, which is important. But we'll talk about that in a minute because we just want to make sure that nobody wants to mute it. So, and then watching and participating for 4 weeks in this group and participating in the following groups for 4 weeks. And we know that this is a lot, you guys, but there's a reason for it. I promise you. The Saturday Champion Makers training, this week is going to be Patty Glick. The Sunday training or family group night, the Monday top tier group, and then the Wednesday leadership training next week will be led by Mr. Francis. But we're so excited about these four different pieces because if all of us commit to this for 4 weeks, then when people jump in with us and we're their leaders, we know what every single thing is about, right? We know, and the Wednesday one is not forever. It's just a 21 week, which sounds like forever, but it's really not. And so we want to make sure that everybody that is on here, you can see the numbers, the live numbers dwindling. We know that because this is a commitment. And we weren't silly enough to think that everybody was going to be able to stick with commitment. We knew that those that were committed would. And I can tell you that Danny and Diane did something similar with Rick and I, and we stuck. We stayed, and God is producing some great fruit with it. So those 4 weeks of intentionality, we're going to be able to bring you vision, your self-reflection, your goals, your clarity, your organization, efficiency, skills, and confidence is the biggest one. And also, you're going to know who to run with in your organization. And if you did not see Steve Merritt's thing on Sunday, it was powerful on the This Is It team. You need 3 legs in your organization. If you have 3 legs, which means you enroll maybe 15 people, 40 people, 200 people, and you have 3 legs of people that are moving and shaking, you will make millions and millions in this business. 3. So that's huge. So that's big time. Anything? Okay. What was covered last week? Okay. Ensure to watch a replay and lead your team by the transferring of the skills learned. Okay. So the importance of onboarding. Gosh, Laura did a phenomenal job. Andrew, thank you for working with Laura on that. Brooke did a phenomenal job. And teaching the importance of the calendar. Are you teaching and ensuring that what you're teaching is being caught? Because if it's not being caught, but you're just teaching it, then you're just speaking to the wind, and then there's a broken link, and we're going to cover that. But and then your welcome text and transferring the skill, multiplying is huge, and multiplying happens when you transfer that skill and when you teach all the skills and establishing the foundation of your people's knowledge. Because if they know these pieces, then man, it's going to explode you. And then the biggest one, do you know school? And we're going to be covering just a tiny little, like literal sliver of school tonight because of what we're going to be covering. Anything there?
But yeah, one thing to talk about on obviously the onboarding, like you said, Brooke and Laura crushed it last week. And that is just so important that the way people come in and they get onboarded, that is probably just a vital part, if not everything, of
Everything.
how their journey starts with the patch and working the business. But making sure, like with the calendar, is there's a lot of people sometimes, and we do this, and we all do this. I'm guilty of it. If you don't really understand, but they'll say, yes, yes, I got it. And there still might be something that's a little vague or they're not too sure. Make sure and verify
Yeah.
and do that. And because you know what, at the end of the day, it's tough. And sometimes, pride sets in and you just don't want to say, hey, I don't entirely get it. But make sure you're asking the
People don't want to
questions.
be a bother.
Because you know what, I'd rather be a bother and you get the correct information and no one gets, left or in just kind of ambiguity. But that's something that's really important there. So just making sure they're picking that up, transferring the skill. When we talk about transferring the skill, that is something again that is something to be verified, right? To really make sure that something is transferred. If you have enough care for that person, their organization, you're going to make sure that they fully understand how to do that and they understand the why behind it as well. So like Britt said, that is the foundation.
I'm putting the passcode because people are asking. Okay. So, just so good. Yes, they are. Yes, they are, baby. Okay, so I just got a text asking. So, okay, so tonight is the first part is my favorite. My favorite, my favorite. How important is the presentation skill? Are we able to present? This is something that is near and dear to my heart because Danny McD, him truly, he and Diane, I was texting them over and over and over about 3.5 months in saying, can I start doing presentations? And they let me jump in pretty quickly. And the reason why was because I knew that if I was able to begin to do presentations, that the transfer of trust would happen and people would start to trust me. And that's what ended up happening. And so, I really want us to all be presenters. Rick and I are praying for presenters because if you're able to present, you can lead an army because people follow people that can give information well. So, the last week's homework. There was a reason and a method to our madness for last week's homework, and this is why. We wanted to watch Terry Miller's Ladies Zoom presentation in school, and I know y'all, I don't know what happened, but they took it down. And I was like, no. But it was I don't know why, but I did send another one. Text the 2 things that you caught from her presentation as far as how she presented. What did you like, and what was duplicatable? So Rick received that from a lot of the people, and I think we need to cover that because it was big.
No, I was very impressed.
Oh.
I was very impressed with the responses because what was picked up was what we intended to. So, there was a lot of great answers. Some people had a lot more that they took away and went above and beyond the 2 things, which was nice as well. But, there was just so much. But the main point was just how relatable it was and the duplication part. But a lot of the stuff as what's listed here, the Benjamin Button quote, but relaxed and simple. If you watch that, it's one of the best things is when you can see someone and you're presenting to somebody, is it should seem like a natural conversation, right? That's always something very important because when you're doing that, you want to bring that. If people have their guard up because you're giving a presentation and they don't know what's going on, it could be the husband, it could be the wife that didn't maybe get the full story and they get, drug onto a Zoom and say, hey, just jump on here and watch that. This is exactly what it needs to be. It needs to be relatable. It shouldn't feel like a sales pitch, right? But at the same time, Terry was very firm in everything she said, and she was very sure of herself. But she was also very natural, right? There was, a couple times when maybe you stumble a little bit, but it's just a natural conversation. No one felt like they were being sold something. And that's the most important thing because, I'll tell you, when Britt and I, when we were a young married couple, we used to go on, all these trips and I'd say, okay, what are we doing today? And then she would tell me about, the timeshare presentation that we had to go into, right? Because that's how we got the free hotel night stay or whatever it was.
Yes.
But, and if you've ever been to a timeshare presentation, right? As a couple, I sat there, I said, okay, when we get in there, this is what we're doing. We're saying no, you're going to nod your head. Don't give any reasons, don't give any stories, just no, 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 no. And that's the game plan, right? Now, when you're doing this, and if you're that husband that's being, or that wife that someone says, hey, you're coming to this, jump on this Zoom, we're doing this presentation and we're going to watch this thing, that automatically gets that kind of reflex. And some people think that they're going to sit on the Zoom and it's going to be like that timeshare presentation, right? So with that, last thing you want to do is feel like something like that. So you got to remember when you're relaxed and simple and it's conversational like that and it's relatable, that guard just starts to come down and people's mindset starts to change. Their ears begin to open, their heart begins to open. So,
And something that I know about Terry, because I would count her probably as one of my closest mentors, is I know for a fact she hates to present. She hates it. And so, not because of anything else other than she puts pressure on herself, but she said, when I'm conversational, it takes the stress level off of myself because I feel like I'm just talking to my own friends across the screen. And so, that's something that I caught from her a while back was that that she loves to just share she likes to do three-way calls, which she calls sharing calls versus presenting. But she has surety in her voice. And then what was duplicatable? What can we all as a family do similar?
the no information overload is vital and is crucial, right? The timing is very important. It's got to be somewhere that's got to be within that 45 minutes. Some people, up to an hour, anything over an hour, and people start
You'll
tuning
lose them.
out. But when you start giving a lot of information, and that's why we talk X39 for the majority of it, and we don't get into, Ice Wave and Eon and all these other patches, because for someone that's brand new to the thing, you don't want to give all that information.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, you're just setting up more and more questions when you give so much information. And then when you ask them what they took away from it, it's like they almost forget because it was just so much information, right? And that's where I think we lucked out. I don't think we'd been with the company, what, 4 or 5 months we'd been in the business before we even realized there was another patch
We
other
had
than
no idea.
X39.
We
It
ordered
was
premium with
all X39.
X39.
And we were at conference, and I remember, and Britt, I said something. I said, "Hey, I said something. I said X49," and Britt gave me that look like, "Don't embarrass me, Rick. It's X39. Get it right." And I was like, "No, these guys were talking about X49," and she was like, "Sit down." And that's as far as I got. I said, "I think there's another patch called X49," and so then we asked, and then we found out about Ice Wave and everything else. But you know what? That was a blessing in disguise because we were just so focused on what it was and the miracles were happening with X39. We didn't confuse it. We didn't take information overload, right?
Yeah.
We just kept it very simple.
Yeah, and science that for her is simple, right? Oh no, here it is. So this is a mirror. Oh yeah, there you go. This is a mirror, right? So when she said it, she said it reflects the light frequency and the body elevates a GHKCU, which wakes up stem cells. I mean, simple, 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 right? And so, in her testimonies, we got a lot of feedback that her testimonies were easy to follow. She smiled and asked questions to the audience, even though she could not hear us. So a lot of people knows that she was engaging. So a lot of times you guys might hear me over the screen say, where does vitamin D come from? Right? And so I'm asking the person across the screen, even though everybody else is on mute, because then all of a sudden they're starting to say, well, the sun, right? And then I'm saying the sun, right? Blah, 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 because I'm trying to ensure that they're engaged because the next part is going to be important. Or you might hear my favorite phrase, lean in, because I'm telling them, do something, so engage with your people. And her slides are very, very simple. Mine are a little bit more deep into the science. But I will tell you, Danny and Diane called me, and that's the reason why Champion Makers, I don't do a lot of Champion Maker Zooms because they're right. They want it to be duplicatable. Well, what's duplicatable? The Champion Makers or the This Is It team, their slides. They're very straight to the point, and we're going to show you how to get those, and we're going to actually show you how to do a presentation tonight. And then her last one was her call to action was very straightforward.
Yeah.
Very straightforward. So in any presentation,
Yep.
You need to have a straightforward, because if you say, if you don't have a strong close of what to do, then
Where do we go from here?
where do we go from here? And then it also makes it awkward for the person that you're presenting for, because then they don't know how to follow up, right? And so if you say core, advanced, or premium, the call is, okay, what did you think? What were your takeaways? And which one would you prefer to do? Core, advanced, or premium?
Yeah.
What's the best for you? The call to action is super important.
And even if there's not a great call to action, but that still exists, and I'm taking this as if you're listening to a presentation, and let's face it, as people, sometimes we forget or we move on and realize, hey, we didn't say that. But always ask that question, exactly like you said, which one do you prefer, right?
Yeah.
Did you want to do the core, or did you want to do premium? Did you want to do advanced? Ask that question very direct, because when you open it to what did you think, right? Remember we talked about last week, ask those direct questions, or what was your favorite part? Give me your one part that stuck out the most, and then you can ask them that question. But when you leave it very open, then you get a very open answer.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
which normally then you're going to ask another 15 questions to get something you could have just got right from the get-go.
Yep. So that's good. So, okay, you're welcome. The importance of the ability to present. Okay. This is where duplication happens. And honestly, me reflecting on myself, not Rick, because both of our strengths are different. This is an area as a leader that I think I need to get better at, is helping people present, right? Because people have identified me as the only presenter, and I don't want that. I looked at Danny and Diane and I said, I want to present. And so duplication happens once you're able to present and show proof it can be done. Okay, so perfection is not necessary. That is not necessary. The reason why I don't like doing champion makers is because I feel like other people's organizations are relying on me. When I feel my best to do presentations is when I have you guys on the other side with your people. Like Dawn called me one day and she said, and I was doing a champion maker Zoom, and Dawn said, "Hey Britt," she said, "I have so and so getting on tonight." And I said, you have no idea what I needed to hear, because I will present as on champion makers as if she is the only one that is on the call, because it is personal for me. So perfection is not necessary. It establishes you as the leader of your organization. You are beginning to be the conductor of your train. Okay, so when you decide, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do a presentation, your people will begin to look at you and go, okay, she's driving us, he's driving us, and this is where we're going, and they're also taking us there. They're the engine. And so your ability gives you validity. Okay, so your validity as a leader is vital as a leader, because you establish the trust within those that are in your organization. And once you establish trust, I know Tony is on here. He's establishing trust with those people that he's enrolling, right? And I have no doubt that Tony's going to begin to do presentations within his home. Claudette is another one that she's establishing trust within those in her organization. If she says tomorrow, I'm doing a presentation, I will tell you her people will get people on, because her ability has given her validity with her people that have jumped in with her. So super important. Yeah, anything? Okay. No. So exciting. Okay, so how you find the slides. So I'm going to share the screen. If you want to screenshot this real quickly, I'm giving you a minute to screenshot. Okay, so how you're going to find the slides. Okay, so
you're on mute.
I know I am, but I want to show them. Okay, so you go to school, and this can be on your phone or on your computer. Okay, you're going to click classroom, because we want everyone to have the slides, and we're going to cover this. When you go, you're going to go down to forms, presentations, and downloads. Okay. Then you're going to be able to find the presentation slides. Now, if you are a Keynote person, they're in PowerPoint, they're arrangeable, and then there's also PDF. So you can download these slides at any time, okay? And when you download them, you now have the ability to present immediately. Immediately. You don't have to pick, you can pick which ones you want.
And that's the most important is you have that ability to start doing it immediately. I'll say, Britt was the first one. Danny and Diana had done some in-home presentations for us, and we'd seen, a couple Zooms. But it was probably after the second in-home presentation, she says, I can do this. And she got up there and says, watch me, I'm going to practice. And she went through it like, you know, just without a care in the world. And I watched her do it maybe 2 or 3 times. And I said, you got this. And you know what? The very next time, she just went ahead and did it. Right. I don't know how nervous or scared she was. To me, it didn't look like there was any fear, which I know my wife and there probably was zero fear because she'll just go do it. But you know what? She jumped right in, 2 feet in. And you know what? When you think about that time to now, there's a big difference because that repetition is what changes that. So, but you have to just jump in. That's the most important thing is at the end of the day, when you just jump in, no, you don't want to record yourself and put it on social media on a presentation at all.
Yeah, because they will Google.
Once again,
Google.
and I'm going to cover this one more time because I still see it on social media a million times. If you put the word LifeWave, you put X39, X49, and you give away the farm on social media, there is no need for you anymore, and people will see it. They will ask somebody else. They will do their own research. They might end up on any single page, and that's where they go. They don't always necessarily come back to you. And also, it depends on what it is that you're looking at. Now, you got to remember, everyone does research differently. Right? How many times have we heard this? Well, I looked it up, because everyone turns into Sammy the scientist once they find out about this. They've been, in the stem cell world for all of 18 seconds, but they all of a sudden know everything about it. And they've gone and well, I Googled this and I saw reviews on Walmart. I hear stuff. I saw the reviews on Walmart. I saw the reviews on here. I AI'd it. Well, I used Chat GPT. Well, a lot of that stuff, it really depends on where you look. We always tell people, I showed a guy a list of all the side effects. He goes, man, those are some pretty bad side effects. You're sure you want me to wear this patch? I said, oh no, that was just for ibuprofen. Had nothing to do with
the side effects of ibuprofen.
I mean, you can start Googling stuff, right? Brett always uses Google Jesus, right? You're not always gonna see what you want to see, right? Because what's going in there is just what people are putting in. It's more of an algorithm that you've got information in there, right? Just similar to stuff with Wikipedia. You've seen people, they have a Wikipedia page and it's all created by themselves, right? It's just something they've put out there. It's been shared. It's moved up to the top of the page, and that's something that's now becoming valid in the eyes of whoever's searching for it. So just always be careful. Social media is not the place to put a presentation of yourself. Just like when we do these presentations, and I'm just going to say this as well while we're on the topic. If you have the link to a Champion Maker Zoom or a top tier meeting, that is not to be shared on social media. That is not to be shared with anyone who is not a brand partner.
Yeah.
Right? That is not something that is
unless when you
unless you're invited in person, right?
But
it's not something you want to put out on social media and just and throw it out there.
The reason why is that you can get people that jump on and they will, number one, it could be people from other groups that are not in the This Is It team. Okay. There could be people that are just trolls that try to take and steal your joy. And you don't want to do that. We've had that done before because I did it. And so, Rick was like, Brittany, so just make sure that when you do your presentations, and if you have a link, that you send those links to your people. Okay, so now you download the slides. Okay, so you guys saw how I downloaded the slides. Okay, and you always want to have a disclaimer. Now you guys can see I don't usually read the disclaimer verbatim. Not because I don't like it, but because for me, I'm very accurate in my disclaimers. The disclaimer is we're in the stem cell world, and your story, their story is going to be different than the other person's story that they invited. And so if you're not making any promises, that's your disclaimer. We are not here to treat or cure chronic diseases or illnesses. This technology puts your body in the proper way, okay, for your body to fix the issues that are at hand. So, just something there. Okay. Now, Rick hates this slide. So if Rick is going to do a presentation, Rick will not use this slide. You do not need to use all the slides on Champion Makers. There are several slides that Rick and I don't use because they don't move us. But Vicky Hill, who's on here, who is a health coach, she may love this slide because she knows, or our nurses or our doctors may love this slide. The slides are important, are the ones that talk about what the problem is, okay? What are stem cells? David Schmidt, the fact that we have a patent, and how the technology works and what it does. These are all incredibly vital. So you get to pick, these are all at your fingertips. You download them and you get to pick which ones you want. And that is so exciting.
And once again, once you get used to doing this, I remember it was probably about 6 months ago, we were talking to somebody and they'd invited people on a Zoom and they had some people on the X39 presentations and they said, well, one of the feedback that, just a comment, just so you guys know, is, Britt's told that story before. I think she should find something different to say. The whole point is repetition and duplication, right? So just because you've heard the presentation once, if it sounds exactly the same the next time you heard it and the third time you heard it, that's a good thing because it's staying consistent and it's making sure nothing is being missed.
I'm glad you
The
said.
consistency is important, but for somebody who's hearing it for the first time, it's still their first time. So there's certain people that they jump on and say, you guys should change it up each time. Well, no, we're not going to just change it up. That's the whole point, is this needs to be plug and play for not just us to use, but for someone else to use. And it should be as close to everyone's personality. Now, if there's like the slide that I don't like, I skip that slide just because if I don't want to read something I'm not comfortable reading and it doesn't seem genuine with me and it doesn't sit well with me, then I'm not going to read it, right? So that might be the same way for somebody else,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And if you feel a certain way, then if it doesn't match your personality, then you can kind of push through it. Now, obviously, all the stuff you just covered is pertinent information and vital information. You can't say, you know what, I don't like the long-term results. I'm only a short-term person. Yeah, I mean, you gotta give the right stuff.
Yeah, and and I will tell you, so Rick said, and I'm going to take the stop screen share off, because I do want to cover this quickly, and I want you guys to hear my heart with this. People go, oh my gosh, you present so well. Guys, I counted because I know I'm glad you guys can't see the desk that we have, but all my stuff is up pile, but I tallied how many times I was on a presentation. It was 69 presentations that I watched over the course of 2 months, okay? That between Carrie, because really at the time it was only Carrie and Diane, I watched it over and over and over. So by the time I jumped in, it seemed like it was seamless. It wasn't. It was that I watched it so many times, I knew what to say and how to say it. Even if I was presenting for just 4 people, 3 people, 2 people, I was able to do it because it was something that authentically I was able to take the things that meant a lot to me and make them my own. And then, and so utilize that. So that is super key there. So, oh, Rick, as if it's his fault.
You're a different one.
I know I am. Okay. So, but so utilize the slides that are the best for you guys. Okay. So, come in, you can copy, paste, turn it into a PowerPoint, these are all available for you. If you guys like these, then use these, but use what is best for you.
And even if you're listening right now and you're saying, you know what, I can't see myself doing a presentation. It's not me. It's still a good exercise to go through. One, it's a good exercise to go through it because you know what's going to happen when you go through the slides? You're going to realize which ones you skip, which ones you rush through. It's because of the confidence in that area. That needs to be something that you're not familiar with, whether it be the pay plan, whether it be, exactly how the science works. You tend to shy away from those and you'll notice it when you do a presentation. You'll notice it with your voice. I was talking to Britt about, that makes me happy about that, right? We're listening when people's voice changes, right? You can tell their comfort level or if they're about to say something that is that is hurtful and painful and they don't really want to say it, and their tone changes, the pace changes. They're excited about it and they just keep moving and they're flowing forward. You can see they're excited about something. But when someone gets nervous about it, you'll see the shift in body. You might see a different inflection in their voice. You might hear a different cadence in their voice. So that's something you'll start to notice and within yourself, especially if you can record yourself doing it. And then you'll look back and say, you know what, I probably shy away from that slide because I don't feel 100% confidence in that area.
Yep. Yep. So, okay. So on your phone, again, now I'm not trying to make you guys dizzy, but I want to use this the best that I can. Where'd they go? Where did everybody go? Rick. Okay.
There you go.
There you are. Okay. So when you go to your phone, okay, I'm going to spotlight us, okay? Because this is important, okay? When you go onto your phone, you're going to go to the school app. I am. Okay. Where's the downloads? The forms and downloads. Okay, when you go to your forms and downloads, when you find the forms and downloads on your phone, okay? When you find them, you can download them onto your phone. You can download them onto your phone. Okay, so when you download them, you will have them forever in your files in your phone. And if this is like, you're like, Brittany, this is so beyond me tech-wise, it's okay. You can YouTube and say, how do I find files on my phone? And it's like a 30-second, like that you could find, YouTube. But the reason why I'm saying that is if you are on a Zoom call, if you can jump on a Zoom, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that in a minute, you can share your screen from your phone. You can share your screen from your phone. That is amazing. So I don't know if Anthony is on here or not, but one time he was actually giving a presentation and his entire internet went out. And there were 15 people on his call. And you could see total like panic. Well, guess what I was able to do? Because he jumped off, I was able to turn around, share my screen, and jump in and finish the presentation for him while his internet went back up. So that was huge. That to him, it was like, Brittany, it was so seamless. And I said, no, it's just I'm ready.
Yeah.
And so you want to be ready with the presentation at hand at any moment. Even if you're not going to be a presenter, that's okay. So are you at any time ready to present? The relaxed readiness, just be ready. Know Zoom and watch some easy trainings on YouTube. Okay. Just relaxed. This is no pressure, but because you guys are all leaders on here, we want to ensure that on this manager making machine, this is how you create a manager real fast. If you have that 48-hour, 72-hour grind with your new person who says, yeah, George, I do know 3 people. George, I already know he and his wife are ready. I guarantee you that they are going to be ready to present at any time. And they just started not too long ago, but I know that they've probably already looked at school. They know where they're going to find the presentations. And if they have to, they can say, can you jump on a Zoom call real fast? And of course, if you can't, you've got presentations that you can jump from and pull from school and say, hey, watch this for 30 minutes and I'm going to call you back in 30 minutes. So that's okay. But if you learn how to share your screen, if you learn how to share your audio, and you have the presentation on your phone or computer, you're ready at any time to be a leader and get your people to manager. And so that's important. Anything there?
Nope.
Okay. So framework for a good Zoom. Okay. Is your background professional or is it distracting? So there are some that have birds flying in the background, or there's people moving in the background. I know that sounds crazy, but they're where there's a city in the background and it's moving. It's probably distracting, right? And so you want to make sure that your background is professional. It's something that somebody can relate to, or no background at all. If you have children, then make it a blurred background so that they can't see. Okay. And is the way that you're dressed mirroring your audience? So if I have somebody, the other day I felt so bad, but I had a doctor that Sandy actually is on here today. And normally I would have looked very well put together, but our daughter was not feeling well. So is the way that I was dressed mirroring my audience? No. But I had to cover it with my knowledge. I had to cover it with my knowledge. And so people will be forgiving if you're authentic and say, I'm so sorry. I had to pull over. I was picking up my daughter, but I'm ready to present and talk to you about what's about to happen.
That's the relatability, right? There's always going to be a time, and especially you'll see it with us, that there's either a dog climbing up or a kid asking a question or whatever it could be. It's going to happen. You just want to have that framework and try to have it happen as little as possible.
Yep. Yep. So, and is your area clutter free? I do the best that I can, but is your area clutter free where you're not looking around at things? I mean, that's important. And do you have relaxed intensity? Okay. So a framework for a good Zoom is before you get on the Zoom, it's, do I know what I want? Do I know what I want on the opposite end of this Zoom? Do I want somebody to say yes? Do I want somebody to be excited because they've already said yes, and I'm painting the picture of what this vision is going to look like if they lean in? Know what your relaxed intensity needs to look like and be prepared with that. Okay. Know your slides. Okay. So know your slides. Get rid of the ones that you don't feel good. Rick just said it. Delete them. Delete the ones that you just do not like.
And that's something I learned the hard way. I forgot which presentation we were doing, but it wasn't ours. And all of a sudden, Britt looked at me, and the slide comes up, and I'm looking at it like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Well, that's good information." I had no idea what was on the slide, right? But at the end of the day, while I was processing that, I realized at the end of the day, all I've got to do is read the slide, which I always find silly because I'm assuming everyone else on the other side of the Zoom can read as well. So I don't like reading it to them, but that's where I had to go to because I didn't even know what I was talking about, and I had a quick second to process it. So you need to know your slides normally in advance.
So your presentation is telling a story. So if you look at your presentation and you align your slides with what make you feel comfortable, there are some people that now all of a sudden I think you guys are probably catching that what feels authentic for me, because I'm testimony driven, is opening up my presentation with a testimony. So you guys are probably from here on out, because it's authentic to me, I'm testimony driven, it's going to set the stage for the rest of the Zoom. I'm probably going to start with a strong testimony because that's authentic to me. I didn't do that before until probably 3 weeks ago. But because now it feels good and it helps me line up for me the presentation where people can feel authenticity on the other line, on the other side, that's how I'm going to do it. But for a year and a half, it didn't feel authentic for me because I needed the slides to be very A, B, C, D, E. Okay. So, and then do you know your audience ahead of time? If somebody calls you, if Stacy calls me and says, "Hey, I need you to do a presentation," I'm going to ask her, are they testimony driven? What's wrong with them? Do they have, like Vicky and Kimmy, hey, do they have diabetes? What issues are going on? I'm going to ask because then I can speak to that in the presentation.
And you want to find a way to be relatable, every chance that, you have a chance to connect with the people and they see you as that, for example, if I know Bill Vining is going to be on the call, I make sure I wear my Harding shirt. That's his favorite school. It's what he loves. So I make sure I wear that. There's for Bill. Right?
It's not his favorite skill. Okay, so in my big old head. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see this screen. Oh, stop it. Okay, so I screenshotted this earlier, so you be quiet, Mr. Francis. Okay, so first of all, when you get into school, or I'm sorry, into Zoom, okay, when you open up your Zoom, you're going to learn several things. And this is what I'm going to show you before we jump into in-person presentations, okay? The first piece that you want to know is how to share your screen. So this is your share screen, okay? Next, it's going to ask you which screen you want to share. Just share your desktop screen, okay? you can share your keynote, but your desktop screen is fine. And then you can find your keynote. Over here is where you can share your sound and optimize for video sharing. So if you click these two, then you can actually make sure that your sound is ready to go. Okay. And then you're going to hit play. Okay, so it's the same thing with your phone, and I'm sure Androids can do the same thing too. I'm not going to clown on Androids tonight, but I'm sure that Androids can do the same thing as well, somehow, some way. And then right here, your gallery. Now, Rick hates seeing ourselves. So we can never see ourselves on our screen, just so you all know. We have it so that Rick is not staring at himself. We have it where you can see the gallery or the speaker, whatever it is, you get to pick how you want it to be. And then down here, you want to ensure that you can mute.
Did you do that with your eyes so you're looking at that? That's special.
Thank you. So, see, so right down here, you want to be able to mute all upon entry. So if somebody is jumping in later on, that is, where. And then down here, again, we're recording this so that you guys can play around with it. This is your invite link. You can copy the invite link. And if you have a Mac, you can actually text the invite link. If not, you can email it. And then you can grab that from like your Android and you can, that copy link.
And
So
you're looking at that one too?
you be
Good
quiet.
job.
So there you go, guys. So that is your Zoom presentations. Okay, so now we're going to cover in-person presentations because this is super important. Okay.
In-person presentations, absolutely my favorite because I prefer in-person than over Zoom, right? There's nothing like an in-person presentation when you get to be with people, you get to actually see their body language, hear their voice, and you can just see right then and there when you're presenting, and it can be only to 4 people, it can be to 10 people, it doesn't matter what it is. But the in-person presentation, I still think has the highest closing percentage out of anything we've done. I know anything that we did that in person was where it was at. But starting small, forms, pens, water, food is a plus. If you're going to do any food, keep it very simple, but keep in
Because
mind
it needs to be
it's a
duplicatable.
business presentation. It's got to be duplicatable. If you go out there and you've got some huge spread, that person's thinking, when they jump in, I don't know if, that might not be something they want to do. So you don't want to set that precedent early on to, have that huge thing going on. But yeah, set the tone, dress the part. But at the end of the day, I know one part we were talking about is kids. Life's tough. Sometimes when we know we've got 4 kids, they're all going different directions. Today was one of those days, right? I ran out to get Victoria, but to come back to make it 5 minutes before the Zoom started. So when we're doing this, we know that. But if at all possible, if you're going on an interview, and that's what you have to treat this as a serious business, right? If someone's going on an interview for a job that pays $500,000 or plus, would they have their kids with them? Most likely they're going to find, I'd say 99.9% of the time, they would find an arrangement for their children to be there. You don't want to have an in-person presentation and you've got kids running around everywhere. You've got distractions. You've got, dogs. That's something that we always had to try to get the dogs outside. We had one where we had a dog that would not kept finding her way back in the house. It was just a complete nightmare, but it was
Danny was going to kill us.
It was such a
Danny was
distraction.
going to kill us.
And it was a true distraction because you know what? There's some dog lovers that were in the room, and next thing you know, they were more interested in the dog than the patch, right? And so you got to make sure you limit those distractions, but you can get a very strong call to action at the end, and you'll know exactly the response that you're going to get and the outcome when you do that because you're able to see everyone just sitting right in front of you. So just always remember that in-person presentation is gonna, bring a lot of people, but keep in mind that in-person presentation, you may also have to overcome that same at the beginning, that same anxiety, that same, timeshare presentation mentality that some people are going to walk in, right? Because that's the one thing you don't know is who is on the Zoom or who's at that in-person presentation that hasn't been given the full information of what they're even at. So that happens quite a bit. So make sure you're there and it's that relaxed intensity. That's what we talk about. People have got to feel welcome, but they've also got to understand how great this business can be. So
why isn't it letting me go back? Okay. Oh, Rick. Okay, there you go. Okay, so Rick. Okay, so it's so important that okay, so I was I was actually praying over all of you guys, and I mentioned that earlier that I was praying for you guys, and I asked God to remind me, how did we get where we are at? Because there are some leaders that are sharing where they're at, and I'm going, how are we where we're at, Lord? How did we get here? Because we don't have people that have built organizations before. How did we hit elite? I don't know how. And God reminded me we started small. See, we did presentations all the time, did we not? I traveled for the first 6 months. We actually sat down with our kids and we said, look, we know where our family's going. And we need you guys to understand that there's going to be some sacrifices that we make over the course of the next 6 to 8 months. And I'm going to be gone for a few nights a week to do presentations. And I did. I went and I did in-person presentations. I asked my people, hey, would you fill a room if I came? Could you fill a living room if I come? And you know what? They did. They started filling living rooms. And so that is something that's how we got to where we were,
And,
you know?
and I mean, and it's a team effort, right? I had to stay home with the kids, which, trying to watch all four kids at the same time, I've never done that before. Sad to say, I've never done it before with all four at once. And then they're looking at me like, "What's for dinner?" And I said, "You got cereal or Hot Pockets? Those are the two options." So there was sacrifice that was there.
Yes. So have a banner. So get a banner on the This Is It team. Know your presentation. And even if you're not tech savvy, just know the presentation. Okay. Do you find out early on? Do you know if there's a TV and do you know if they have Wi-Fi? Okay. Ask them, hey, I have my phone. Can I share my screen onto your TV if you have a smart TV? And they'll probably know. So if you don't know how to do it, they probably will.
And isn't it always good to have a cord just in case?
Yes, yes. So, and the banners are the pull-up banners on the This Is It team. So it's always good.
Those are good.
It's not necessarily necessary, especially for your 4 to 5. But remember, this is $1 million business, and so
Homes at first.
we didn't have banners at first. We didn't. Danny and Diane didn't either. They were coming in, and we were like, "We're going to fill the backyard. Can you come?" And Danny drove. There were times that Danny drove and drove right back to Dallas, a 5-hour drive, did a presentation here, and then drove back. So make sure that, if you want to do that, this is a way that you can do that. Get comfortable. Set a goal for your people. Tell your people, hey, can you get 6 people in your room? 6 people. If 6 people commit, that means 3 people are going to show up. So can you get 12 people to commit? Because that means 6 people are going to show up. And start with a few people and do them for your teams, because this establishes you as their leader again. And this establishes the trust. So I wanted to show you guys. Go ahead.
And just point when you're ready.
So this is why, yes.
Look, guys, we're legit. Woo!
So we're shy.
Yes.
We're shy about 15 people tonight, 10 people tonight, because they're doing their first in-person presentation tonight. And we wanted to show this because they made it very simple. They made it duplicatable, and they're having fun with it. Remember, to the right people, if you paint the picture well, they're going to jump in. And if you mess up, you're human. You're human. Okay, people have seen me flustered because the internet wasn't working, my slides weren't coming up, and I'll look around and I'll go, I'm flustered right now because I'm trying to get this figured out because I want this to be perfect for you guys.
No. And that's why it's always important to have, someone with an Android close by so they can jump into the rescue.
Oh my. Stick to the slides until you're comfortable and then add things in. Okay, so stick to the slides until you're comfortable and practice alone, but don't overthink the practice. And I know that sounds funny, but I'm so happy to hear when people are getting together and practicing. Don't overthink the practice, okay? Because remember, we've talked about from week 1, you can get ready to get ready to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. I'm doing it. We're going to do this. Remember, we have what those people need. When people are walking in the door, even if it's 4 people that are your neighbors, friends down the street, you have what they need. So when you walk up, you grab their hand, you shake their hand, you firm, and you say, I cannot wait for you to hear this presentation because this is going to change your life. The second that they hear that, it's it. So that is the presentation piece. And I'm going to hand it over to you for the next few minutes.
Really? Okay. So what we're talking about, how to identify your responders. So this is what we're talking about when we say responders, meaning those who are looking like they want to share the business. They're your people, the go-getters. That's what I was explaining to Britt. I said every single person on this call is a responder, right? The easy way that we knew is you filled out a form and you said, hey, I want to do manager making machine. Do you see yourself as a leader? Yes. Can you commit to this for the 4 weeks? Yes. Where on a scale of 1 to 10 are you? I'm a 10 as a leader, right? And you see that. So now you know exactly where they're at, right? So those are the easy ones to see, right? But even in that crowd, like we said, it's still a numbers game, right? And at the end of the day, we want to be able to find those responders because sometimes you have people that are responders, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I wonder whatever happened to them. I thought they were going to be awesome. You know, that was on Saturday. Britt and I were in the car driving 2 hours, and I said, you know what? Let's make some phone calls. I want to call some people. So we made some phone calls, right? And we were asking some people because there was an issue with with WhatsApp. A lot of people were not getting the communication. So we had to look at it and says, I know these people are responders, but I don't know if they're getting the communication. So we had to go through and double check that they got that, because there could be people in your organization that are responders, but they're not seeing any of the stuff in, a group chat. They're not getting any messages. They're not getting on any Zooms. And it could be just an information and a communication lag or breakdown somewhere along the line. So that's something you sometimes have to go digging for those responders, right? Now, the other part on that thing is sometimes you have responders and you just have to go back to them and say, hey, you know what? I haven't talked to you in a while. I was wondering what was going on. And you've got to remind them of their why, of why they jumped into this business. Meaning, hey, hey, Britt, didn't you say your kid has travel baseball this summer and that was why you wanted to do this, to get some money for some extra cushion? Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, you know what? I was thinking maybe we could get on a Zoom. And what you're doing is you're bringing them back to that picture that was painted early on, that vision that they had and why they were doing this, because we all need to be reminded of that. Plenty of times, like myself, right?
Danny had to remind me of my why. I will tell you, there were several times that it wasn't that I quit, but he had to call me when I would get frustrated. Those Monday mornings when you go, how am I not manager anymore? How am I not director anymore? How am I not
Meltdown Mondays?
Meltdown Mondays, right? I would call Danny and he'd say, Brittany, it's Monday. People need to ship. And weren't you doing this because you want your husband home? Aren't you? Didn't you just have a woman call you and say that her child is no longer having seizures on Saturday because of your yes? Yes, I did. Okay, get it in gear. and it helped.
And I'll tell you, most of your responders, if they're a responder with this, they're probably a responder in their professional life and in their family life, and they probably do everything at a max anyway. So sometimes life happens, but they have that, but we all need to be reminded of the why. And that's where we always need to have that, whether it's a leader, it's a spouse, it's a friend, it's somebody who's bringing it back to, hey, this was the focus, this is where we're going, but I know life happens. So you got to make sure that you're always constantly communicating with those responders.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the non-responders
like I said, can take a lot of time and a lot of energy and kind of suck that out of you. It even stops you from being a responder because you're doing that. Meanwhile, your people that are trying to run are looking for some help, but you're over here doing something else. So always keep that, because if you notice when we put here, do you feel you're dragging them, right? We've all had those people that we've almost had to say, hey, we can see the opportunity for them. We can see everything.
Yeah, this goes with it.
We can see everything for the people that we've drug into the business. So those are the ones that you want to see.
Go ahead.
I want you to go back to where it was.
Oh, go ahead.
Right?
Okay, go. Sorry.
So if that's the case and that's how they got into the business, it seems like you see the opportunity and they still haven't seen it yet, and you're constantly dragging them. All you're doing is just adding an anchor and running your race with this anchor on until they can basically go all the way in.
Yep.
So then you want to see, are they on the Zooms, right? Are they introducing you to their people when they enroll them? Is there that text message that's being set up? Are they engaged in the business, right? Are they immersed in the business? Are they in school? Are they in champion makers? Now, are they, because a lot of people, I'll tell you this, a lot of people will tell you, yes, I'm in school. Yeah, I'm on champion makers, right? You'll hear that. Yeah, I was on manager making machine. I'm on every Tuesday. It's on Thursdays. Yeah, I think I was on that one too, right? You'll see that stuff happen because at the end of the day, what's happening is we all care about each other and we're a team and they don't want to let you down. And maybe they don't want to say, I forgot I wasn't on, or my kid had this, or my spouse had this, or I was watching Grey's Anatomy. I just completely forgot, right? There, whatever the excuse is maybe they weren't there. But so you'll find out real quickly because if you don't transfer that skill and if they're not engaged, they might still be asking you questions like, hey, where do I get the recording? Or where do I find a testimony for this? And you send it to them, you don't really know if they know how to navigate where it is in school. Do they know how to get into that? So that takes you back to yourself and say, hey, maybe we didn't transfer the skill correctly, but you'll know when they're self-starters. You're going to know when they're doing the stuff and you don't have to prompt anybody. But at the same time, here, you can change it. You can still check with that constant communication is important.
Can you guys see our screen? Can somebody unmute and tell us if you can see our screen?
I can see it.
All good.
Okay, good.
I can see it.
Okay, good. Okay.
So with these characteristics, right? That's what you're looking for is you're looking for, do they walk with their head held high, right? Are they negative? Because this is something that's really important because there are plenty of people and they're
And
normally
it's not on this call.
they're
just so
normally
you
the ones
know.
you have to drag into the business. Everything's negative, right? They can find the downside in anything, right? And that's what you want to surround yourself with positive people, right? You really want to do that. Here, I'll let you take the rest.
Okay, so are they intense?
That's why I let you take it. 'Cause it's-
You stop it, Mr. Francis. Are they intense? Are they excited? Do they have a fun intensity, right? Or are they a negative intensity? Like, is it somebody that is just always mad? And if that's the case, they're going to bring you down. And so I've learned this the hard way that if they're going to say, oh, I can't understand this, you know what? Point them to school, love them where they're at, and don't let them drag you down because you have other people who desperately want you that God has given you. Okay. If they're hungry, if they're excited, if they're like, oh my gosh, I love this video, this is great, then you know that they're going to be people that are responders. And how does somebody respond to the call? Are you overlooking a potential leader? Are you overlooking somebody because maybe they are self-responders? Maybe they're self-responders, but they don't, like he said, know how to respond. This is important. And this is why I put this here. Do not slow down for the non-responders that God has given you. And I gave this example. Look, here's the deal. If you're slowing down because somebody is asking questions, okay, there's somebody in our organization and she is a monster group in our organization, and she's slowed down. I have skipped and said, bye. I love these people and they are mine because God entrusted them to me. And so until you step up as their leader, I'm going to be their leader. And if you never step up, that's okay because all of them are leaders and they are all going to have a massive organization underneath them. And I'm so excited because that means I get to travel the world with all these people. I'm not ugly, but I will most definitely tell you that I will bypass the non-responders and I will find the people that want this because God entrusted them to me. Not because my check's getting higher, but because I know that they want this for their family and I am going to take it very, very seriously. And because of that, God is going to bless whatever I put my hand on. And that means more testimonies. And that's a direction that you want to go for your people is you want to give the opportunity for people to be responders. So if you're offering to do a presentation for people and they're saying, yes, I will fill my living room. That's a responder. That's a responder. And that's who you go for. And I've watched Claudette and Tracy, this entire organization, Gina, I've watched this organization rise up, Reagan rise up. You know, Brittany's gone, you know what? They're responders and we're responding with them, right? And so, you know, you're going to find these people in your organization and you're going to look for them and you're going to respond for them because remember, it brings us back to a true leader ensures that every new member feels like a part of the family from day one. So you give them the opportunity from day one to be a responder. Offer an in-person presentation for them.
Yeah.
Guess what? You'll probably get them to manager. If they can get 4 or 5 people, it's a good opportunity between people that they know and they love that will jump in right away, and maybe 2 or 3 people that show up to their house. They're going to be a manager within a week. That's how you become a manager making machine.
Now, one thing, and this is a little more on the advanced side, is really do a deep dive when someone says they want to jump in. Make sure the questions you're asking, because a lot of us, you know, and this is just us, and when I say us, we see this quite a bit, is it's very easy to sometimes see the opportunity for someone else, but sometimes something right in front of us we can't see, right? Yeah. But someone could say, "Hey, Rick and Brittany, I don't know how you guys can't see this." But this happens quite a bit when someone's enrolled, they're on your team, and you're trying to see if they're a responder, and they're giving you all the right answers. But what they're really trying to do is just appease you. They don't want to let you down. They want to make you happy. They want to give you that answer because they don't want to have that tough conversation that maybe it's not for them. Maybe they don't want to share. Maybe they, whatever it could be, but they're doing that and they're just saying yes, yes, yes. So you've got to make sure that they have that why back in front of them, and that why is something that they really want. Because what you're going to see is sometimes people will do that and they'll say, yeah, and they'll tell me, you know, I had to deal with that quite a bit, you know, in my previous job, where people would tell me what I wanted to hear. It wasn't necessarily the right thing. I needed some people to say, Rick, that's a stupid idea. We shouldn't do that, right? Where someone's got to say that, but you will find people will just say yes, please you. And that's a good thing. That means you have influence, right? And people, they value you, but at the same time, you need to know exactly where that is and gauge that very well, because if you don't, what's going to happen is they're going to continue to appease you and give you that, and all you're going to do is you're going to wear them out. And that's what wears on them in a personal way as well, because they feel like they're just trying to please you, and you feel like you're trying to drag them as well, and wondering like, hey, you're telling me all this stuff, but I still didn't see you on the Zoom, or let's do a 3-way call. I still haven't heard from you. And that's happening. There's a disconnect. You have to get to the root of it.
You get the pyramid scheme. Okay. When you drag people, that's what makes people feel pyramid scheme. And that is not what we are. We are a family to help each other and love each other and get each other to where each other knows that we are called to be. And that's the difference between what this team is, what this organization is, and others out there, because we want what our people want. So oh, there it is.
Yes.
So we're going to open up for questions in a minute.
So the homework, like I said, you know, shout out to like Krista last week. Her homework was on point. There was just so many people. You guys, this homework, it's for the big group of, because we want to go back to you. It's not just for us as well. We want to be
for us to help you,
so we can see these type of things, because we're trying to get that message to you, but we want everybody to see it, meaning the whole team, right? So what we're talking about here is sharing the name of 2 people within your organization that you identify as a responder. Now, these are people that haven't enrolled more than 3 brand partners. You know, so for example, we couldn't turn around and say Sandra Robinson is a responder. You know, she's a director, right? She already knows what she's been doing. We already know she's a responder, right? So we're looking for people that are in your organization. Name those 2 people. If you don't have anyone in your downline yet, not everyone on here is a manager, right? Name 2 people in your life that you think would be responders. So when I'm saying that, they're people that aren't brand partners yet, and you're not thinking of them for the health reason. You're just thinking they would be awesome at sharing this technology with the world. They would be a responder. They would be the type that would jump fully in, right? Those are the 2 things that we want you guys to do. Really one thing. But the second is ensure all your people in your organization are in school. Take a little bit of time and check with your downline and just keep going down that and make sure everybody's in school. Because I know we've said this a couple times where And we've heard the same thing. People say, well, I didn't share that text with them. I didn't give them the information because they told me they're not interested in sharing. They just want to wear the patch. Well, you still need to get that to them. Make sure they at least have that and say, you know what, I know you just want to wear the patch, but I just want to show you this because I think you might want to learn more about the patch. And I think it gives you a lot of good information. Because if you don't take that extra step and go that extra step to make sure they are in there and they're getting that information, then you're guaranteeing that they're never going to share. If you don't give them that stuff, you guarantee that they're never going to share. And if they are going to share, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start from page one. They're going to call you and say, hey, I know I said I wasn't going to share, but I got 2 or 3 people that they want to know where to get the patches. What do I do? Right. And then now you're right back to stay at square one. And you could have just shown them that stuff and given them that opportunity to do that. But if you get them in school, they get to see that. And like I said, there's so much good education in there. If someone wearing the patch just wants to learn more about it,
Right.
there's so much they can learn about it.
Q&As. I mean, no school, that's what I'm saying, no school, because there's so many Q&As in there, and if they are like, I mean, Dr. Maurice, even if you say download school because I love this doctor, you guys, they now have a doctor that they can kind of tap into and watch all of her little things. Why is water important? Why? This is huge. So then they're automatically connected into the family when they are ready, not if, when.
Yeah. And the whole part is, some of those people have a great testimony and we want them to see other testimonies, but that might compel them to share their testimony. Because really, at the end of the day, if you've got a great testimony, and I'm not talking about just for this, if you have a great testimony, it needs to be shared, right?
Yeah,
that's a simple way.
Crazy testimonies
it needs to be shared when you have testimony. That's how we grow as humans. That's how we grow in life, is that testimony needs to be shared, right? Now, do you have anything else to close? 'Cause I want to just cover one.
No, afterwards, we're going to keep it open for Q. We're going to pray out afterwards and then
Okay.
Q&A.
So one other thing. So we've got the homework set. We want to get that rocking and rolling. One more thing on the WhatsApp group, right? We're using WhatsApp because of the sheer number of people. The goal is we don't want people to mute it. That means when you hear that, I know some people have said, hey, why did this get deleted? Or why do you keep saying you don't want stuff shared on that? Because there's a lot of stuff. If you've got a question, ask your upline. If you don't have an upline, ask us directly, because for the greater group, I'm getting some people that say, hey, Rick, you know what? I know we said not to mute it, but my phone's dinging too much. I want to keep my notifications on, but it's distracting. So, some of the stuff, Britt's trying to minimize, she's just trying to share, hey, this is Zoom or whatever it may be. Then let's just leave it at that, right? And just let it be there. We understand that you like it or you're ready. I'm just trying to keep the majority to a minimum of notifications, because my heart and our heart is that nobody mutes it, because there's so much good information that's coming, and I'm scared that somebody mutes it and guess who misses out? It might not be them, but it could be the person underneath them or the person underneath them that doesn't get the information, or someone else on the team that now misses something within Manager Making Machine because they've turned that notification off. Yeah. Right. So that's just kind of my heart between that. And it's not only just for Manager Making Machine, and this goes for just any group text, because I know there's a lot of group text. And the one thing that I do know is Britt spends a lot of time. I don't know how many different group texts she's in, but I'd say it's upwards of 70 or 80 group texts that she's in. And I know there's some people when this is making too much noise in that group message, and you see and that it's that group, after about the 7th or 8th time, guess what you do? You just
mute it.
You mute it, you put it to the side, and guess what? When that starts happening, that is the beginning of you starting to turn off other stuff that's pertaining to this business. The disconnect starts to happen. And when we're seeing this as for the whole group, we don't want to see any disconnect. So I know there's a lot of excitement. We're excited, and I love the communication. I love the energy of our family being in there. So don't hear what I'm not saying. I love all of it. We're trying to keep that to a minimum.
And you can always text us.
We know there's a lot of other group texts that are going on, right? If you're in multiple ones, I know some of us will say, reminder Zoom's happening, in 20 minutes, and that comes in 6 different groups, 8 different groups, 12 different groups, right?
Sorry,
so getting that, right? But that's a good thing. But at the same time, when that happens,
it's all good.
disconnect, right? But that's just where our heart is. So if you see that, please don't take it that we don't want to hear from you. We don't
We
want to do
do
that.
want to hear you.
Please, I will never have a problem. Just send it to us direct, just not at 2 a.m. Okay.
Sleep like a log. I didn't know that there's a 2 o'clock in the morning.
I wake up and I start doing a head count of kids. So I'm trying to figure out what that is before I look at my phone.
So, but I want to pray over all of y'all, and I'm going to give you guys one
Sorry
big-
for going over.
No, yeah, sorry for going over, but I want to give you guys a good encouragement word real fast because this is very cool. So on Monday, I shared with you guys a script about the holistic doctor. That script, I think everybody on here is on Monday morning. So I've been using it, okay? And God dropped the word Birmingham on Tuesday morning, okay? So all of y'all, when you hear Birmingham, what are we all thinking?
Now I'll tell you the first thing that came into my mind for any country music fans. I heard Tracy Lawrence's voice singing "Paint Me a Birmingham." That's what I heard.
Well, I heard Alabama. So when I heard the word Birmingham, I typed in the word Birmingham holistic nurse practitioner because that's what I've been doing. I've been randomly Idaho, I've been random. So I will tell you guys, I typed in the word Birmingham and I just call. I used the exact script that we shared on Monday. It was a man that was praying for a network marketing company in Birmingham, United Kingdom, in England. He signed up on the spot. He signed up on the spot. He owns 7 practices in Birmingham, United Kingdom. He was looking at another network marketing company and he said, this has to be God. It was 9 o'clock at night in England and he signed up on the spot.
Picked up on the spot.
He 20 years ago wrote a book about light. That is the power of what we have our hands on. God is in this group. If it happened to me, it's going to happen for you guys. He's got his hand all over it. We couldn't believe it. So the scripts work. To me, it was like, Lord, that was a confirmation this script will work. I have somebody else that has said that she used it and she has 2 appointments with holistic doctors. And remember, it's not all about doctors, right? But the doctors might lead you to your responder, okay? Because they have 25 or 30 people that they might put in. That might be the responder that you're looking for, right? And so I had to share that with this group because I walked in and I was all, I've got it on mute and I'm going,
and I'm
guess
sitting there
what?
thinking like he sounds nothing like Tracy Lawrence, right?
No, he sounded like he was from England. So the thing is that here's the deal. Do you know what he asked for immediately? A presentation. Immediately. I was sitting in the car and I had to share my screen. I could not share it fast enough. And he jumped in immediately. Immediately, you guys. And so I was like, oh my gosh. And he's messaging Rick and I back and forth. His wife had cancer. He lost his brother 3 days ago. And he was asking for an answer. And he said, this is it. And so if it's going to happen for us, it's going to happen for you. Period. End of discussion. And so I will share those scripts again. Actually, I'll put those scripts on the manager making machine. So we'll start over for the week. And so you guys will have that. No need to like them or heart them, like Rick said.
Not in the chat.
It won't hurt my feelings if you don't. But I wanted to share that with you guys because that told me God is at the center of all of this. He's at the center of all this. And so it's going to happen for all of us. Okay. So pray and then answer Q&A. Okay. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for these family members, Lord God. Lord, we thank you for the favor that has come over every single one of them, Lord God. Lord, we thank you for the great ideas. We thank you, Lord God, for their ability to lose the fear of man, Heavenly Father. Lord, we thank you that there are going to be self-starters within their organization, Lord, that they are going to be able to take what they took tonight and they are going to be able to be presenters, Lord, of what you've put in our hands, that they know that they are confident that they are going to be able to present and do these scripts and do these presentations because you wouldn't have put it in their hands to fail. Lord, we thank you and we praise you for every single one of them, Lord. We thank you for those that are watching the recording because they were unable to be on. We just thank you and praise you for every single one of them, Lord. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. So God bless every single one of you. We're going to stay on so that we can do Q&A, but you are not hurting our feelings. If you jump off, I will put those scripts. As soon as we get off, I'll put those scripts in, and I will also be putting the PDF presentation on the WhatsApp. So you guys will have that. So you guys should have everything. Yes, Rita and then the Millers.
Yes, Brittany, you had mentioned to order the banners on This Is It team, but that shop is still closed. Have you heard when they're going to open it back up?
Yeah, Mia and I were just texting like actually an hour ago, Steve and Gina's daughter. They're reopening it. It should be reopened tomorrow. Gina, you guys, this is the level of leadership that you have. Gina is doing the actual she's been the one that's been counting everything from the convention herself. She's been counting everything to make sure that they have enough stuff for them to reopen the store. And so she's actually in their warehouse herself doing it. So it just mind blowing. So it should be reopened. As soon as it's reopened, I will send that to you guys. George, my Android crashed as you were talking about finding the responder. Very much so, George. All right, Millers.
Okay, hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, I'm ready to do a presentation.
Yes,
So
you
when you, she said, yes, you are. So when you say, are you ready to do a presentation? Is it one that I should just do for my group only, set up my own private Zoom, tell my people to invite it to just that one only at some random time that works, opposite of what we've already got scheduled?
Absolutely. And then the
Okay.
other thing that I would say is you're ready for some in-persons. You know, that's what I
Yeah.
would say too, is do the in-persons, do some in-persons out there because people are sometimes are more apt to be in person with you.
Uh-huh.
And so do both, do both.
Okay. Because I have 6 people committed right now on this with you guys right now
I know.
on this manager
I
making
know.
things.
And how long have you guys been doing the business?
3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So you're ready and you're going to be able to have them duplicate. And so that's so key, guys. So key.
Yep. And I sent Rick already my
PJ already
responders.
did her homework, and Scott. I'm sure.
And there were 6 of them. Scott said it's only 2, and I said, but these 6 are really strong.
She makes me look
So-
good, man.
Well,
I don't
think
know.
more, that's good.
So I've got 6 on here, and I
That's
got 6
competition,
more.
though. There's some other people that came right in behind you.
I'm usually first. I think I was
Liz
first last
Henderson,
time
Liz
too.
Ramos. Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love.
Okay, well, I'm ready to do in person too. So, what night would be the best for Zoom? If we were going to say, okay, team, let's get together on a Zoom, what would you say would be the best night?
Now, so you've got to look because when you look, so you got Testimony Tuesday. Some of those you can definitely.
Care. We just
That's
hurt
a
our feelings.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
You're probably going to cover some testimonies in there anyway, and
Right, yes.
they're in person. That's one that should be the first one to go, right? But you
Okay.
can do any of them. The ones you don't want to get in the way of are Sunday evenings, right?
Right.
The lady
Saturday.
Zoom, that
Sunday afternoons are very popular.
yeah,
Are
so
they?
afternoons. That's been a good one because you've got people kind of that like right after lunchtime.
Mhm.
We always had a good turnout. Friday nights are hit and miss, right? It really
Okay,
depends
yeah.
on your audience and your
Not
time.
in Texas.
But
you got,
but if it's football time, there's certain
I saw
things,
Martha over there.
yeah, there's certain things that come before the patch, and that's football.
Exactly.
I
understand.
especially
Okay.
where's Dave? Is Dave Regis still on? Yeah, I said Saturday. I know where we're gonna be, and we're gonna be right there rooting for you, right?
Okay, perfect. Well, then I'm going to plan it. I've downloaded the slide, so I'm going to rehearse it. I'll get it set up. I'll let you know when.
That's so awesome. Yeah, and guys, that's where you're going to start seeing the duplication. You will be shocked because I'm telling you guys, when I asked the Lord, I really did because I really have, and this is my sin. Okay, so I'm confessing it to all 78 of you guys on this, is I have the sin of comparison. And God has shown me that through this business, that comparison is the thief of joy. And I have this one to remind me because we're on a group chat with a lot of the leaders, and they'll like, oh yeah, we have this many lines of this many people, and, and I'm like, what are we doing wrong? And and Rick's over here going, their story isn't our story.
Yeah.
Who cares? Right?
Right.
And so
Everyone's walking their own journey. And you know what? I think it's great when people are doing well. If they're not, we pray they're doing better. But at the end of the day, none of those people have ever walked in and paid any of our bills, helped our kids, and you know what? We're not doing the same for them. So at the end of the day, oh well,
it just
let it
cracks me
be.
up.
But the most important thing, if you ever want to look at, is how is our team doing, and that's
Yeah.
where the focus is. So that's our why, and that's where we shift our mind back to. And I say ours. I don't lose my mind when
He doesn't
I
lose
could
his
care
mind.
less about whatever everyone else is doing.
So that's just me telling you guys
Yeah.
because I feel like somebody needs to hear that on here.
Yeah.
Don't let comparison be the thief of joy. Because I got in the shower today and I was praying and I just felt the Lord say, Brittany, where did you start? And I was doing in-person presentations for 4 or 5 or 6 people. And that's how we started. And that's how we have so many lines of business. We have over 20 lines of business because we started small and we did that. And so, every single person that you enrolled is a line of business. So don't forget that you guys are starting with a solid foundation. So Mac
McD.
All right, I'm here. I am so happy to have you all on this call and investing in us. You just don't even know. I look so forward to Thursday night. You're doing a fantastic job. I'm taking all my notes. Question about becoming a manager. I've heard on different calls, different presenters saying you need 2 people, you need 4 people. I went to next level. It sounded like 2 and then maybe 4. Is it a day where you only need 2 or is it always going to be 4?
2 left and 2 right. That's 4. So what you might have heard is stuff with the new comp plan, which doesn't exist, so we don't worry about it yet.
Yeah,
But
we're not
there's
that
there's a place in time where it could only be 2, but everything else is still, like I say, it doesn't exist. So the only thing we do is 2 and 2 because we don't anticipate that new pay plan coming out tomorrow or any time, immediately in the near future. So we work with what's here, right? It's like when we talk about, it's good to know stuff in the future that could be coming up, but only to strive for more. So I'd rather strive for always to have 4 than even to have 2, like I said. And that's something, it's still, that structure changes. You're still going to want to have the greater of the 2. But that's where that came from. That power of 2 is probably what you heard at the conference where they discussed that real briefly. But until that's out, it's 2 on your left, 2 on your right. That's making a manager, and then you're taking those 2 left, 2 right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to try to duplicate that same process, and you're going to try to get 50% of them, right? So 50%, and I've done this before with my fingers because I had the wrong 2 fingers down last time. But you want to get that with 50% of those, because then if you can do that and you can create the same thing with those people, now you've moved up to director because you want to create 2 managers under them. And that's the whole business, is that manager creating that, now creating manager underneath them, and now guess what? You moved into the director role, and you're going to continue that same process to now where you've got, like I said, managers on each side, and then that grows where you have 2 directors on each side, and now you're moving up to executive director.
Yeah.
So that's the basic nuts and bolts of this business. And that's why manager making machine, when you break it down to the simplest form, this whole thing, we can put all the binary and the circles and make it all look like a bunch of DNA all on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper, right? Those little things, that's what it looks like to me. But it's just confusing. But really what it breaks down to is 2 on each side, and then you want to duplicate the same thing moving forward, and you just want to keep creating managers. If you can get your first 4 people to create the people underneath them as managers, it's just that is the whole business in a nutshell, is just making managers.
Okay, got it. I'm not gonna go for a 2 and 2. I'm gonna go for like 200 and 200 on each side. Okay.
Done. Done. We're here for it all day.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted that clarification just because on different calls, and then I would get questions like, "Hey, I heard oh, you only need 1-and-1 now." And one more question for the manager making chat. Is there, if it's becoming noisy, could you just only allow admins to post and not
We thought
everybody?
about that, but we know there's some things that some people need to get out there because there is that option, but
Oh, okay.
it hasn't come to that yet but I'm only getting, and where it comes from, just so you know, a couple private texts saying, hey, you know what, I'm muting this thing because it's making too much noise. It's still
Yeah.
not, the majority is still a few people, which is fine. At the end of the day, I don't want to mute everybody just for the sake of a few people. But at the same time, I want everyone at the greater good of the team to just be respectful. And it's not just respectful because no one's doing anything wrong.
No.
Respectful is probably not the right word, but it's just a matter of there's just different levels, right? Of what people can tolerate in terms of that, right? It's kind of like, we talk about
Nothing bothers me.
nothing bother. It doesn't really bother,
Hmm.
but when we're talking about it, it's like I use my mother for example, right? She's retired, but if I ask her to do something that's outside of her schedule, it's like, "Whoa, I'm busy." And I'm sitting there like,
Mhm.
"You doing what?" But at the same time, it's like, or my phone's dinging. I'm like, "That's the third person that's called you in a week. It's not that big of a deal." But if it's a big deal to them and their phone's dinging, let it go because I know there's a lot of people, especially in any meeting and anything you go into, that don't have the vibrate button on their phone. It stays on ring. So I can see how that could be extremely annoying,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not going to teach a whole Zoom on how to turn your phone on vibrate.
Because you have an Okay, Krista.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, love you. Krista.
Hey, I was trying to do the downloads like you
Yep.
guys suggested,
Yeah.
and there's 2 or 3 kind of different ones that
Yeah.
they're just not downloading. The basic training keynote for June, the basic training PowerPoint for June. I don't know what's going on there, but it's just being weird.
I was able to do it, so you may have to look at because when I download, it shows up. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. It shows up right here. So just play around with it because it might be a space situation on your phone. So just play around with it, and I'm going to be posting it in the WhatsApp group as well, so that you guys will have it from there as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know it did go up there for me, but it was just like a 1 byte file. It wasn't okay. So you'll post it, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, my love. Absolutely. Any other questions? I loved what I wanted to see this really fast. Comparison might be God having you in his hand and the person you comparing with maybe in Satan's hand. Ooh,
Who is that?
that Regis. Who else would that be? Regis, that is wise.
Ooh,
You know what? Look at
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I mean, people that we compare
That didn't
ourselves
come from
to,
a Sooner, that's for sure.
what's interesting is people that we compare ourselves to, we don't know what they're dealing with on the other side of their life.
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. They might be super insecure, and that's why they're posting the things that they're posting, which makes me find myself comparing. We don't know what it is. And that's where, at the end of the day, you guys, we just have to look at each other and all of us say, you know what, we're all on this journey together and it's a 30-year deal. I will tell you, Danny and Diane, when we spoke to them the day before yesterday, Danny said, Brittany, if I could tell you guys what is in our future, not one of your manager making machine people would quit.
Yeah.
He said, if anything, they would put the gas to the metal. And I said, well, then, or the pedal to the metal. And I said, well, then, I said, it is our job to paint the picture the best that we possibly can and teach our people to do that.
At the end of the day, right?
At the end of the day,
He's writing the story, so we just got to put down the pen.
I was at Danny's house today and he is fired up.
were you there? He's fired up.
Yeah, I when I landed at DFW today from my El Paso tour, I I went to Danny's house and he said, "Man, you have no idea what's coming down the pipe."
Did he? Oh,
Yep. Yeah.
How can we even care, you guys? All of you guys that are on here are going to be SPD elites. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. If they brought people, you stop looking at me. It doesn't matter. I got my heart right earlier. So it doesn't
striking.
matter. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to strike you, but stop it. But it doesn't matter what the person next to us is doing. It doesn't. All of us are here. We're all here together. You guys are going to be able to become powerful presenters and manager makers. And I'm going to stop the recording.